It is said that some places are like people. Some shine and some don't. But what happens when the place is a film set? When the story being told is so steeped in psychological dread that the walls of the studio begin to sweat with the same fear. In 1978, at Elstree Studios, just north of London, Stanley Kubrick, the Grand Master of Cinematic Control, began building a hotel. It wasn't a real hotel, but a labyrinth of plaster, wood, and secrets. He called it the Overlook. This is the story of a production that became as isolating, as maddening, and as haunted as the fiction it was trying to capture. This is the story of the making of The Shining. Part 1. The Architect and the Author. Stanley Kubrick did not simply read books, he consumed them. Stacks of them would arrive at his estate, and his process was ruthlessly efficient. He would read a few pages, and if a book failed to grip him, it would be thrown against the wall with a thud. Stephen King's novel The Shining did not hit the wall. It stayed in his hands. Stanley Kubrick. The slow, creeping doubt, the disintegration of a man not from a ghost, but from within. King's prose is effective. Pulpy, but effective. He gives the supernatural a face, a name. But that's the mistake. The real horror isn't in ghosts. It's in the family. The father turning on the son. The vast, empty space of a hotel, yes, but more so the vast, empty space in a man's soul. King thinks the horror comes from the Overlook. He's wrong. The horror comes with the Torrances. The hotel just unlocks it. For Stephen King, the Overlook was personal. It was born from a stay at the Stanley Hotel in Estes Park, Colorado, a grand, fading giant where he and his wife were the only guests before its winter closing. It was a story about his own demons, alcoholism, the dark, fleeting impulses of a father's rage. When he heard Stanley Kubrick was adapting it, there was a flicker of prestige, followed by a wave of apprehension. Stephen King. Kubrick, the guy who made 2001, A Clockwork Orange, cold films, brilliant but cold as a Maine winter. He's a technician, an artist of the sterile. My book is hot. It's a pressure cooker of emotion. I wrote Jack Torrance as a good man trying not to be a bad man. He's on a tragic arc. He's relatable. That's the terror of it. Any guy could be Jack. But Kubrick? He'll see the monster, not the man. The first clash was over casting. King envisioned a Jon Voight or a Michael Moriarty, an everyman whose descent would be shocking. Kubrick wanted Jack Nicholson. Kubrick. The story is about madness. Why start the audience at 0? Let's start them at 10 and push them to 100. With Jack, the audience knows he's a firecracker from the moment he walks on screen. The question isn't if he will explode, but when, and how big the explosion will be. For the role of Wendy, Kubrick chose Shelley Duvall. Her look was unconventional, fragile, a stark contrast to the sturdy, blonde Wendy of King's novel. He saw in her a vulnerability he could exploit. And for Danny, after auditioning thousands of children, he found Danny Lloyd, a 6-year-old boy from Illinois who had no idea he was making a horror film. Kubrick protected him, telling him they were shooting a drama about a family living in a hotel. The axe, the blood, the ghostly twins. Danny would not see the true film until he was a teenager. Part 2. The Long Winter at Elstree. The shoot was scheduled for 17 weeks. It would last for over a year. Kubrick, a notorious perfectionist, had recreated the Overlook with an obsessive's attention to detail. He sent designers to the Timberline Lodge in Oregon for exterior shots and had them meticulously photograph and measure hotel interiors across America. He demanded the set feel real so it could be destroyed. And he demanded his actors give him not a performance, but a piece of their sanity. The method was repetition. Endless, soul-crushing repetition. Kubrick. Again Shelley. Duvall. Stanley, what was wrong with that one? Kubrick. The walk. It's not worried enough. Let's go again. She pushes the card. Kubrick. Again. And again. Again. Take after take. For hours. The crew shifts uncomfortably. Jack Nicholson, an actor who thrived on spontaneity, sits in his dressing room, growing more and more agitated, which, ironically, was exactly what Kubrick wanted for his character. Shelley Duvall. He's picking on me. He has to be. He tells the crew not to sympathize with me. He says it will help my performance. My hair is falling out. I'm losing weight. I feel cornered, just like Wendy. He's not directing me, he's tormenting me. I look at Jack and his eyes are wild, but he's playing a part. I'm not sure I am anymore. Is the camera capturing Wendy Torrance or a breaking Shelley Duvall? Does Stanley even know the difference? Does he care? The iconic scene where Wendy confronts Jack on the staircase, swinging a baseball bat, entered the Guinness Book of World Records.
Stop swinging the bat.
It took 127 takes.
Put the bat down, Wendy.
Duvall. It was a difficult scene. Stanley was very demanding. I had to cry for 12 hours a day, all day long, for the last 9 months of the shoot. I would listen to sad songs on my Walkman to get into the mood. It was so hard. Jack was so good. So scary. After a while, your body rebels. It says, stop doing this to me. I don't want to cry every day, and it's not good for you. The production felt cursed, an echo of the hotel's own malevolent history. In February 1979, a massive fire broke out on Soundstage 3. The heat was so intense it warped the steel superstructure. The entire Colorado Lounge set, the heart of the Overlook, was reduced to ash and twisted metal. It was an event eerily similar to a key moment in King's novel, a moment Kubrick had deliberately written out of his script. One of the crew members recalled, "We came in that morning and it was just gone, a smoldering wreck. Stanley, he just stood there, looking at it, no emotion. You know what he did? He started talking about how he never liked the ceiling anyway, and this was a chance to rebuild it better. The man's focus was inhuman. It was like he was the hotel, rebuilding itself after a tragedy. The production of The Shining finds its dark twin not in other horror films, but in the grueling, chaos-fueled ordeal of Francis Ford Coppola's Apocalypse Now, which was shooting in the Philippines around the same time. Coppola went to war with the jungle. His set was destroyed by a typhoon. His lead actor, Martin Sheen, suffered a near-fatal heart attack. His budget ballooned, and his script had no ending. My film is not about Vietnam. It is Vietnam. The madness was external, a battle against God and nature. Kubrick's war was internal. He didn't fight a jungle. He built one in his actors' minds. He manufactured the madness in a controlled, sterile environment. Coppola was Captain Willard, heading upriver into the heart of darkness, unsure of what he would find. Kubrick was the Overlook itself, omniscient, patient, demanding a sacrifice. Both directors pushed themselves and their crews to the brink, blurring the line between filmmaking and psychological warfare. One was a hot, sweaty, chaotic hell. The other, a cold, clean, meticulous one. The results were two masterpieces born from absolute misery. Part 3. The Ghosts in the Machine. As the film took shape in the editing room, its lore began to grow. Kubrick's aversions and obsessions became the stuff of legend. He famously despised the color red in the set dressing of the hotel's bathroom, only to flood the screen with elevators full of blood. He embedded visual impossibilities, windows in rooms where they could not exist, hallways that turned back on themselves, a chair that appears and disappears between shots in Ullman's office. Are they continuity errors? With any other director, you'd say yes. With Kubrick, you are forced to ask, is this intentional? Is he trying to subliminally disorient the viewer, to tell us that the geography of the Overlook is not to be trusted, that it is a malevolent, shifting entity? This is where the conspiracy theories begin. The documentary Room 237 would later explore these theories in hypnotic detail. That the film is a confession of Kubrick's involvement in faking the Apollo moon landings. That it's a commentary on the genocide of the Native Americans, evidenced by the Calumet baking powder cans in the pantry. That it's a retelling of the myth of the Minotaur in his labyrinth. Danny is wearing an Apollo 11 sweater. He rises from the carpet, which has a hexagonal pattern like a launch pad. It's so obvious. The hotel is built on an ancient Indian burial ground. That's not just a line of dialogue. It's the key to the entire film's subtext. Fact or fiction, these interpretations became part of the film's fabric. Kubrick created a puzzle box with no solution, a maze with no center. But the most chilling lore comes from the set itself. Members of the crew reported feeling an unshakable sense of dread in the empty corridors of the Overlook at night. Tools would go missing.
Your money's no good here.
Strange whispers were heard on the sound recordings,
Orders from the house.
later dismissed as feedback. The line between the story they were telling and the experience they were having began to dissolve. Part 4. Checkout time. The initial reception was lukewarm, even hostile. Critics found it ponderous, cold, and a poor adaptation of King's beloved novel. The film was nominated for 2 Razzie Awards, Worst Director for Kubrick and Worst Actress for Shelley Duvall. Stephen King. I was disappointed in The Shining. The book ends in fire and the movie in ice. In the book, there's a sense of Jack Torrance's struggle. In the movie, he's crazy from the first scene. Kubrick, ever the iconoclast, was unbothered. He had made the film he wanted to make. He even re-edited the ending after its initial release, physically sending assistants to theaters to snip the final 2-minute hospital scene from the film reels, a final act of absolute control. He had created a horror film that didn't rely on jump scares but on atmosphere, on a creeping, architectural dread. A film that got under your skin and stayed there. Over the years, the consensus shifted. The film that was once dismissed as a failure of adaptation is now widely regarded as one of the greatest horror films ever made. Its images, the twins in the hallway, the river of blood, Jack's frozen grimace, are burned into our collective cultural consciousness. Was it worth it? Shelley Duvall. You know, it's a complicated question. For a long time, I just remembered the stress, the misery. But then, you see the film. You see what he was creating. Stanley was a genius. He pushed me further than I ever thought I could go. I don't know if I would ever want to go through it again, but I'm proud of it. I'm proud of Wendy. She survived, and so did I. In the end, the story of the making of The Shining is a ghost story in its own right. It's a tale of a director who haunted his own set, of actors who were pushed to their emotional breaking points, and of a film that seemed to absorb the very madness it depicted. They all checked into the Overlook, but like Jack Torrance, a part of them never truly checked out. They are the caretakers now, forever a part of the hotel's long, dark, and shining history.